the 1970s. It was a decade of bold fashion and even bolder ideas. While we were all listening to rock and roll on the radio, a quiet revolution was happening in labs and workshops across the country. Engineers and dreamers were building gadgets that seemed to be pulled straight out of science fiction. These weren't just inventions. They were promises of a future we could only imagine. Today, we're dusting off these forgotten marvels to explore 10 gadgets from the 1970s that were truly, remarkably ahead of their time. The Sebring-Vanguard CitiCar, 1974. Amidst the gas-guzzling muscle cars of the 1970s and the backdrop of a major energy crisis, a small company in Florida had a radical idea: a car that didn't use a single drop of gasoline. The Sebring-Vanguard CitiCar, introduced in 1974, was a pioneering electric vehicle far ahead of its time. It was impossible to miss. This compact, wedge-shaped car looked like a piece of cheese on wheels. It had a lightweight fiberglass body and was powered by a tiny 3.5 horsepower electric motor. Its top speed was only about 38 miles per hour, and it had a range of around 40 miles per charge, making it strictly for short urban commutes. Priced at around $3,000, the CitiCar appealed to a niche market of environmentally conscious consumers and people just looking to save money on gas. While it might seem like a joke today, the CitiCar was a serious attempt at solving a real problem. Over 2,300 units were sold by the time production ceased in 1977, which, believe it or not, made it the most produced American electric car until the modern era of Tesla and other EVs. It was a quirky, slow, and somewhat strange-looking vehicle, but it proved that electric cars were not just a fantasy. The CitiCar was the little engine that couldn't go very far or very fast, but it was the first vehicle to whisper a question that the whole world is shouting today. What if we just plugged it in? The Motorola DynaTAC, 1973. In 1973, a Motorola engineer named Martin Cooper stood on a New York City street and made the world's first public call from a handheld, portable telephone. The device he used was the Motorola DynaTAC, a prototype of what would become the first commercially available cell phone a decade later. This wasn't just a gadget, it was a paradigm shift. For the first time in human history, you could make a phone call without being tethered by a cord. The DynaTAC was enormous by today's standards. It weighed nearly 2.5 pounds and was over 10 inches long, earning it the nickname the Brick. It offered just 30 minutes of talk time after a staggering 10 hours of charging. When it finally hit the market in 1983, it was the ultimate status symbol. The price tag was a jaw-dropping $4,000, which is roughly $12,000 today. It was a luxury item for wealthy financiers and businessmen. Despite the cost and limitations, it was a glimpse into a completely untethered future. The idea that you could be reached anywhere or make a call from anywhere was pure science fiction come to life. While only the very rich could afford it, the DynaTAC proved that the concept of a personal, portable phone was viable, setting the stage for the mobile revolution that would eventually connect the entire planet. The Motorola DynaTAC was less a phone and more a piece of concrete with an antenna, but it was the piece of concrete that changed the world forever. The Bell System Picture Phone, 1970. Imagine it's 1970. For your entire life, the telephone has been a device for sound only. Suddenly, you hear about a machine that lets you see the person you're talking to in real time. This wasn't a futuristic movie prop. This was the Bell System Picture Phone. Introduced commercially after being teased at the 1964 New York World's Fair, the Picture Phone was a monumental leap in communication. It promised to connect families across miles and to revolutionize business meetings. The technology itself was astounding for the era, transmitting both video and audio over phone lines. However, living in the future came with a hefty price tag. The service cost $160 per month, which is over $1,200 in today's money. And that didn't even include per-minute charges for your calls. The equipment was also incredibly bulky, and you could only call other people who also had a picture phone, of which there were very few. Bell only managed to sell about 500 units, mostly to large corporations in cities like New York and Chicago. It was a commercial failure, but a spectacular one. It failed not because the idea was bad, but because the world simply wasn't ready for it. The network infrastructure, the cost, the culture. It would all take another 30 to 40 years to catch up. The picture phone was a beautiful, lonely prophet. It showed us a future of video calls that we now live in every day. But it arrived at the party decades too early, with no one to talk to. The Kodak Digital Camera prototype, 1975. In 1975, while the world was still in love with film, a young engineer at Eastman Kodak named Steve Sasson quietly invented the future, and in doing so, planted the seeds of his own company's eventual demise. He created the world's first true digital camera. This wasn't a sleek, pocket-sized device. It was a bulky contraption, the size of a toaster, weighing a hefty 8 pounds. It captured black and white photos with a resolution of just 0.01 megapixels onto a standard cassette tape. The process was painstakingly slow. It took 23 seconds just to capture a single image. To view the photo, you had to take the cassette out of the camera and place it into a custom playback device connected to a television. It was clunky, it was slow, but it was magic. It was the first time an image had been captured without a single strip of film. When Sasson presented his invention to Kodak executives, their reaction was lukewarm. Their main question was, why would anyone ever want to look at their pictures on a television? They were so deeply invested in their lucrative film business that they failed to see the revolution they held in their hands. The prototype was never sold publicly, but its existence laid the groundwork for the entire digital photography industry that would eventually make Kodak's film business obsolete. Kodak didn't just invent the first digital camera. They invented their own kryptonite and then locked it away in a closet, hoping no one would ever find it. The Sony Betamax, 1975. In the mid-1970s, a war was brewing in living rooms across America. It was a battle for the future of home entertainment, and the two combatants were Sony's Betamax and JVC's VHS. Launched in 1975 with the SL7200 recorder, Betamax was, by most technical accounts, the superior format. It offered a sharper picture, better color fidelity, and more robust sound quality. Early adopters and tech enthusiasts swore by it. Owning a Betamax felt like you were part of an exclusive club that valued quality above all else. It allowed you to record television programs, revolutionizing how people watched TV. For the first time, you weren't a slave to the network's schedule. So why did it lose? The answer is a classic lesson in business strategy. The primary reason was recording time. Early Betamax tapes could only record for 1 hour, while VHS launched with a 2-hour capacity, long enough for a full movie. While Sony eventually increased Betamax's time, the damage was done. Furthermore, VHS machines were generally cheaper, and JVC wisely licensed its technology to any manufacturer who wanted it, creating a flood of affordable VCRs. Video rental stores, seeing more VHS players in homes, stocked more VHS tapes, creating a feedback loop that slowly starved Betamax out of the market. By the late 1980s, the war was over. Betamax was the brilliant, talented artist who refused to compromise, while VHS was the savvy pop star who gave the people exactly what they wanted. In the end, convenience and a longer runtime won the war. The Atari Pong console, 1975. Before complex graphics, before sprawling open worlds, before online multiplayer, there was Pong. Just 2 white paddles, a single square ball, and a beep-boop sound that echoed through living rooms across America. In 1975, Atari took its smash hit arcade game and brought it home with the Pong console. Priced at just under $100, it was an instant sensation, selling over 150,000 units in its first holiday season alone. It was a simple, elegant piece of technology that did one thing and did it perfectly. The magic of Pong was its accessibility. Anyone could understand it in seconds. Your dad, your little sister, your grandparents. Everyone could grab one of the built-in paddles and start playing. It turned the family television from a passive screen for watching shows into an active, interactive playground. It was the spark that ignited the entire home video game industry. The success of Pong demonstrated that there was a massive, untapped market for playing games at home, leading directly to the creation of cartridge-based systems like the Atari 2600. For an entire generation, that simple game of electronic tennis was their very first video game experience, their first taste of digital competition, and the start of a lifelong love of gaming. Pong wasn't just a game, it was the big bang of home entertainment, a simple digital heartbeat that proved you could find endless joy in just trying to hit a square. The Sony Walkman, 1979. Before the Sony Walkman was introduced in 1979, music was either a public experience, blasted from a boombox, or a private one, confined to your living room stereo. The idea of a personal, high-quality soundtrack for your life walking down the street, riding the bus, sitting in the park wasn't really a thing. The Walkman changed all of that, and it changed it overnight. This tiny, portable cassette player, with its iconic orange foam headphones, was a revolution in a box. For around $150, it offered a listening experience that was both private and mobile. Suddenly, you were the DJ of your own life. The Walkman became the ultimate tool for teenagers, creating the perfect mixtape for their crush, for joggers keeping a beat, for commuters finding a moment of peace on a crowded train. It was more than a gadget. It became a cultural icon, a symbol of freedom, independence, and individuality. It sold over 200 million units worldwide, fundamentally altering our relationship with music. It proved that people craved a personal space, a soundtrack that belonged only to them. The Walkman was the direct ancestor of the Discman, the MP3 player, and the smartphone in your pocket today. It didn't just let you listen to music, it let you carry your world with you. The Walkman was the gadget that finally put a bubble around your head and filled it with your favorite songs. And for a generation, that bubble was the greatest place on Earth. The Polaroid SX70 camera, 1972. What could be more thrilling than watching a memory appear right in the palm of your hand? In an era when photography meant waiting days to get your film developed, the Polaroid SX70, introduced in 1972, felt like actual magic. This was not your typical boxy Polaroid camera. The SX70 was a marvel of engineering, a single-lens reflex (SLR) camera that could fold down into a compact, elegant rectangle, small enough to fit in a coat pocket. It was wrapped in leather and brushed chrome, looking as much like a luxury item as a camera. When you took a picture, the camera would eject a blank white card with a soft mechanical whir. Then, the magic would happen. Right before your eyes, an image would slowly emerge from the blankness, blooming into full color. This wasn't just convenient, it was an event. It made photography spontaneous, social, and wonderfully imperfect. At birthday parties, road trips, and family gatherings, the SX70 became part of the moment itself, not just a tool to document it. Priced at around $180 at launch, it was a significant purchase, but millions were sold to people captivated by its blend of high technology and instant gratification. The SX70 didn't just take a picture, it gave you a tiny, tangible piece of the past you could hold in your hand. A warm, physical memory in a world that was about to go digital. The Texas Instruments Speak and Spell, 1978. Did you ever sit cross-legged on the carpet, pressing buttons on a toy that actually talked back to you? In 1978, Texas Instruments released the Speak and Spell, and it became an instant icon in the world of educational toys. Priced at around $50, this bright orange, futuristic-looking device was one of the very first to use a single-chip speech synthesizer. At its heart was a pioneering technology that could transform written text into spoken words with an unmistakably robotic, yet charming tone. Its primary function was to help children improve their spelling through various games, asking them to spell words and giving cheerful electronic feedback. Before the Speak and Spell, learning was mostly done by memorizing from a page. This device made it interactive, responsive, and engaging. You weren't just reading, you were having a conversation with a machine. Its success was staggering, selling over 1 million units in its first year alone, and becoming a staple in households and classrooms throughout the 1980s. It wasn't just a toy. For many kids, it was their very first hands-on encounter with technology that felt intelligent, sparking a curiosity for computers and coding that would define the next generation. Its cameo in the 1982 movie E.T. the Extraterrestrial only cemented its place in pop culture history. The Speak and Spell was the friendly robot tutor we all needed, teaching us how to spell onomatopoeia, one robotic syllable at a time. The Digital Wristwatch, 1972. In the early 1970s, telling time was an analog affair of sweeping hands and ticking sounds. Then, in 1972, the Hamilton Watch Company released the Pulsar P1, and the future arrived on the world's wrist. This wasn't just a new watch, it was a new way of seeing time itself. The Pulsar was a solid-state digital watch with no moving parts. To see the time, you had to press a button, which would cause glowing red LED numerals to light up on the dark crystal screen. It felt like something straight out of a spy movie. It was also incredibly expensive. The initial limited edition model cost a staggering $2,100, equivalent to over $15,000 today, making it a luxury item for the rich and famous. Soon after, however, LCD, liquid crystal display, technology was introduced, allowing for a continuous time display that didn't drain the battery. This innovation, championed by companies like Seiko and Casio, brought the price crashing down. By the mid-1970s, affordable digital watches were everywhere, and they became a full-blown craze. Millions were sold throughout the decade. For the first time, people had access to hyper-accurate time at a glance. The digital watch was a symbol of the new electronic age, precise, modern, and undeniably cool. The first digital watches made telling time an event. You didn't just glance at your wrist. You made a grand announcement to the world that you were living in the future, one glowing red number at a time. Which of these gadgets felt like the future to you? Share your memories in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more trips down memory lane.